The panelists for this session. I will start with Mr. Tunde Oyewole. He's the guest speaker, consultant, A to Z SME Network. You're welcome, sir. I'd like to welcome Mrs. Elizabeth Olariwaju Nwankwo. She's the CEO of Auckland Best Limited. I'd like to welcome Mr. Bamidele Ayemibo, lead consultant, 3T Impex Trade Academy. We'd like to welcome Mr. Kara Dalo, Agora Specialist, USAID West Africa Access Project. I'd like to welcome, as the moderator, Dr. Shade Bembatom-Young, CEO, African Sustainable SME Export Trade Solutions. So without wasting any of our time, we'll just go straight to the session. So I'll be handing over to the moderator for this session in the person of Dr. Shade Bembatom-Young, CEO, African Sustainable SME Export Trade Solutions. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. But I must point out that I'm not a doctor. Thank you for giving me the honorary title for this event. It's a pleasure to be here again. I was here last year, and I must congratulate the Chamber on going from strength to strength. And with them doing all that they're doing, I'm sure that our exports, non-oil exports, will also go from strength to strength. One of the problems we have as Nigerians is we're usually in a hurry to do things. And that leads to us getting into a lot of trouble. With export, we cannot afford to do this. In fact, you know the expression, fools rush in where angels fear to tread. And where export is concerned, that is so true. I would like to also let you know how fortunate you are to be here, to benefit from the wisdom of this wonderful panel of world-class, educated, and experienced people. Because ignorance is not, education is expensive. You think it's expensive until you've tried ignorance. And I would like to implore you, where export is concerned, don't even try it. You will lose a lot of money. So today we're looking at access to global markets. And there are things you really need to know before you even start asking for those lists of buyers that people always want to have. The first thing, what can we export? And then give me a list of buyers for how many countries. My colleagues are smiling because they know this is what we are up against. And the journey starts way before that. And the thing is that if you do jump in, you will find you have problems. So please listen very attentively because I'm sure that with this experience, by the way, how many of you, most of you are thinking of going into export, right? Huh? Any people here? Not yet? Still making up your mind? Fantastic. This is the time to listen. Some of you, I'm not going to embarrass you, some of you might be doing suitcase export or Ghana must go bag export. I'm not embarrassing anybody, but that cannot get you far. And it's certainly not going to help our economy. So this is why I say you're extremely fortunate to have this opportunity. And I would like to now hand over to our guest speaker today to just do justice, I'm very sure, to the topic.
Thank you. Expertise, it's an ongoing process. You don't ever become an expert, so to say, because the variables and the regulations keep changing every time. So even an experienced exporter cannot afford to take his eyes off the ball. You constantly, the regulations keep changing. Classification of products keep changing. That is I'm just talking to people that are already exporting, and maybe I've sent 2 container loads abroad, and the dollar has come in, and they are relaxed. Trouble is around the corner. But for everybody else, there's a basic life lesson. Before you set up on the journey, you must have an eye for the destination. You must decide to want to go to Sokoto, and then you decide whether a keke napep can take you to Sokoto or an Okada can take you to Sokoto, and what are the risks that are involved in taking an Okada to Sokoto. When it's clear to you that you want to go to Sokoto, then it will be clear to you that an Okada is just a no, no, no. A keke napep is also a no, no, no. What do I mean? You must decide from the beginning exactly what you want to do at the end of the process. What do I mean? Gari is not Gari. Even locally, my wife tells me there's a difference between the Gari you use to prepare eba and the one you soak. You go to the market, you see red Gari, and you see white Gari. There is Ijebu Gari. Locally, you have those varieties. My brother will want to export and imagines that Gari is Gari when it is not even Gari in Nigeria, in the local market. So, my first message, like the moderator said, is that you must understand the end from the beginning. What do you want to do? People rush into doing cashew. Cashew is selling. Everybody is exporting cashew. Mr. Lagbaja exported 10 container load. That's why I bought a new car. Guess what? Cashew is not cashew. Cashew from the same area and from different farms, they are different too. Because you are moving from an uncharted territory to a very organized territory. Cassava is not cassava. You must first choose where you want to go. If you mean that your cassava is meant for production of starch, the species of cassava for starch production is different from the one they use to do gari. Are we getting somewhere? You do coconut. Everybody is exporting coconut oil. Big deal. Coconut oil, selling. But do you know that there are different processes that will give you bigger yield and less yield, depending on what process, hot press or cold press? You have to decide that. A client came to me and said he set up a factory to do pure water, because really everybody is doing pure water. This is for local consumption. Let's start from local before we move to America or outside this country. Guess what? He has built the house, bought the machines, only to discover that the building he has is sitting down on a rock. So there can't be water. It sounds weird. I can't see anybody smiling. Doesn't it sound weird that you have constructed a building, you have bought machinery before you check that there's water supply? But that's exactly what happens with export. People are exporting wood. Wood is the one selling now. Wood is selling now. Wood. Wood. Hello. There are some woods that you cannot take out of this country. Let's even start from Nigeria. It can't even get out of this country unless you smuggle. How much wood do you want to smuggle in a suitcase? So, my first message is that you must first sit down. This is not gra-gra matter. Locally, you do gra-gra, you get into trouble. Like my friend that wants to do pure water. What happens to him is that there's nothing to do other than to crush the thing, remove the machine, move it to another side. Of course, the business cannot be profitable after that. If you have to do export, you must see where you're going from the beginning. There's an issue going on now for those that are doing agri export. There's a farm to fork. Traceability. They want to know even where your cassava is grown. You have to give them the soil texture of where this cassava is grown. So if you don't know where the cassava is grown, how will you cross that hurdle? It's serious business. What is the issue? They are not wicked though. Let's not say they are wicked though. They want to protect their citizens. Regulations are in Nigeria, regulations are abroad. So, the man that is making bags does not need to talk to NAFDAC. But see, if you are going to do any food and drugs, you must put NAFDAC into consideration. Don't now get an order before you know that NAFDAC has a license. But a lot of people do that. One brother in Ukraine or in Thailand says send 10 container loads of cashew. It is only when he has invested money in buying cashew from India or from wherever that he now remembers that he needs NAFDAC. Some people have sent container loads of goods abroad for it to be turned back at the port because that class of product cannot get into that country. If you read the import regulations of the US, it's big. It's big matter. It's voluminous. But it has focus on different products. So guess what? If you have to do export, you must have an eye for the end product. It's all about life, truly, but it's more emphatical that we put it in here now because the risks are high. You must know how many days does it take a container to move from here to Thailand. Because of port issues, I have people that have vegetables in their container and that is stocked on Western Avenue. Stocked there. Some of it gets rotten before it gets to the port itself. Some people don't know that the ship is not a flight from Lagos to London. There are 6 hours, it leaves Nigeria, and 6 hours is in London. It doesn't work like that. You must sit down quietly and plan. Export, like the moderator said, is not something that you just dive at. It's dying down now, but some years ago it was like, export, the wahala is too much, the problem is too much, because a lot of people did not think about it. Also, new regulations keep coming in. For those that have processed products, it's okay here that you go to the market and buy any product with different labels. Any label will go. We're talking of entry to market. You have to enter market from the beginning. Entry to market starts from even the farm where these things are produced. That is where your entry to market comes in. Entry to market is not until when you have produced it, then you now are looking for marketers, people to buy all over the world. No, it starts way before that point. I'm not saying that if you want to export palm oil, you must have a plantation. But I'm saying that you must know the plantation from which you are going to buy. A lot of people are like, how will I pay this amount of money to SGS to do a product analysis? Also, before I answer that, we don't always understand that the goods we bring into this country, those that are sending it to us have had to go through some similar processes themselves. But because it comes to us, we go to the port, one clearing agent clears it, we imagine that it's so easy to send goods out. The famous China, To export anything from China, you must be a member of some association or the other. There are regulations. So the fact that we go to the market and see every Chinese concoction that we want to buy, we imagine that it's easy at the other end. No. Don't mind that we have a loose entry. Other countries don't have loose entries, and that's why we run into problems. So, if that is the only message you take from here, is that calculate, plan before you set out to export. Choose your products very well and discerning. The fact that my sister here is doing cashew should not be a motivation for me to rush into cashew. Meanwhile, I don't know how much homework she has done. I was talking about product testing, product analysis. Before you send a product out, you should have done the analysis. It costs money. But guess what? It is also an insurance for you. I tell you a story. Long time ago, I don't know how many years, maybe 15, 20 years, my first going into export was somebody that wanted canaries. Canaries, somebody in Belgium wanted me to send canaries to him, and I got somebody that could capture canaries. And we captured canaries and sent it through, there was a Belgium airline at that time, I can't remember the name, but there was an airline that goes to Brussels every evening and all of that. You said? Yes. And the birds would get to Brussels, and my contact there would say, out of 2,000 birds, 500 died. Yes, you say, but hello, how am I going to verify whether actually 500 died or none died? Next time he says 600 have been kept in quarantine. This was loose transaction. Of course, I was losing more money than I was making, and of course, I stopped it. That is the way it is. Mine was more money. It was more money of canary. It wasn't 10 container loads of cashew. Some people have done exactly the same foolishness that I did with 10 container loads of cashew on borrowed money. I don't want anybody here to do that. Sit down quietly. The business of export starts from you and from your sitting down quietly and looking at where you want to go right from the beginning. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Tunde. Well, we started the journey, and we will continue straight away. But I just want to say that, you know, you have a choice of markets. There are all sorts of markets you can go to. Even your choice of market is one of the things you need to sit down and look at. And the product and the market should match each other. You may have a very good product, but it just won't fly in a particular market. If you want to sell bikinis to Saudi Arabia, you might have problems. So, as my guest speaker has said, you do your homework. There are also some schemes that give you zero duty access to certain markets. And people coming into export should explore the possibility of them benefiting from those schemes. Now, one of them is AGOA. And we have somebody here who is not going to talk about AGOA as such, but about the US market and the requirements for entering the US market. He'll also touch a little bit on AGOA's role in helping us, Africans, Nigerians, to get into those markets. But there's a limit to what America can do. They can only give us the duty-free access. It's up to us to make sure that we live up to our own side of the deal, which is to go according to their regulations and specifications. So, without any further ado, Kara Diallo, please, you're welcome. From Senegal. Yes, and please give us your words of wisdom on the American market.
Thank you very much, moderator. I think yesterday I made a presentation on AGOA, and as you said, today I will want to speak about some requirements in the U.S. market. And to be able to be successful in the export, you need to be first export ready. And I think the guest speaker spoke a lot about that. You need to do your homework first. And you need to have an export strategy for your company based on the market you are targeting. If you are targeting the US market, the most important thing to know is the factors considered in consumers' decision to purchase a product. That is something very important. And based on a study conducted in 2011, there are three major factors. The first one is the sanitary issues. The consumer, before buying a product, they want to know if this product is clean for consumption. The second element is the price. It's true that the US is a developed country, but however, people want to access quality goods, quality products in affordable prices. And the third one is the packaging. To be able to export, to have access to international market, you need to have a convenient packaging. You need to have a nice packaging that is attractive, because remember, you cannot be everywhere with your products. And your packaging will be your ambassador. Your packaging will talk for you and will explain what is the product. So these three elements are key when you want to access the US market. Here we are discussing about food a lot. And what you need to know about food products is that the import of food products are regulated by the US Food and Drug Administration. And this agency requires that before you export your product to the US, you need to be registered with the FDA. The registration is quite simple because it's online. You just go on fda.gov and you will be able to register with the FDA. So they will give you a registration number. Also, when processing your food product, make sure that you are applying or you are familiar, you are using the current US good manufacturing practices for food. That is something important. There is a guide available online, also on the FDA website. In terms of labeling, the labeling is also, let's say, regulated in the US. There are some information that are required on the labels, and you need to make sure you are compliant with those regulations. Among the element you need to have, you have, of course, the identity of the product. That is very important. The producing company and contact details, the list of ingredients, the nutrition facts, etc., as well as the weight, the content weight of your products. And also, when you are export ready, what the next step you need to do is to participate to trade shows. There are a lot of international trade shows in the US, so you need to determine which one is the most convenient for your industry and for your products. Let's say that for people who are in the specialty food sector, I can recommend you the Fancy Food Show. Fancy Food Show is a big show in the US where you have all the specialty food industry participating from, let's say, buyers, sellers, but you have also all the value chain component, such as the equipment sellers and so on. For people working in the apparel sector, you have, okay, thank you. You have a magic show also going on in Las Vegas twice a year. For the craft sector, you have New York International Gift Fair that is also interesting to attend in the US. So just to make a conclusion, choose the product that the market wants. That is very important. Don't try to sell what you produce. Learn what the market wants and update your product based on the market. Make sure that your product is compliant with all the requirements of the US, such as the good manufacturing practice, the labeling issues, the marking requirements, etc. And also the logistics issues are very important because in your product price, the logistics cost will account for 40% at least. So you need to choose if you are going to export via sea shipment or via air shipment based on the shelf life of your product. That's very important to determine, and also make sure you have a good customs broker or agent in the US that will save you a lot of money when it comes to duty-free treatment such as AGOA or GSP. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Kara. Something came to mind when you were talking. You know, Kara is from Senegal, which is a francophone country, and yet look how well he speaks English. How many of us here can speak French? Even to put a word or two together. Maybe it stops at bonjour, comment ça va? And then when the person is waiting for a reply, it doesn't come. So, but seriously, this also is a serious issue if you want to export to ECOWAS countries. Packaging and labeling is in French. And many, many of our people go, I'm very sorry to say, even with Export Promotion Council, I find them at trade fairs in Francophone countries, nothing is translated. So how they want to market those products, I don't know. And even when translations are done, some of them are really bad. I'm sure some of us even have experiences with Chinese products that you're trying to understand the directions, how to use the apparatus. Well, I tell you, it happens in French, only you don't know because you don't. I happen to have studied French and I was a professional translator, and sometimes I blush. Good job, I'm dark complexion, you can't see. So seriously, if you want to go into the ECOWAS market, where there is a scheme, a preferential scheme, that can give you zero duty export entry. How many of you know the name of that scheme? ECOWAS, Trade, Liberalization Scheme. Oh. And you have to register your product. So now we've been talking about information, that we need information. And the last speaker mentioned some websites and basically the use of internet. That has made things so much easier for the person who is starting out. But don't be lazy. Use the internet intelligently. And we're very lucky to have our next speaker with us, Mrs. Elizabeth Solari-Wachu-Nwankwo. She is somebody who has a wealth of experience in ITC, and she has practicalized this experience not only in Nigeria, but in the Gambia. And she's going to talk to us a little bit about how we can use ITC to help us to do all the things that we've been told we need to do. So over to you, Elizabeth. Please give her a round of applause.
Good afternoon, everyone. In this age, we need not to go up and down too much to get our product all over the world. So I will summarize it as market without wall. Market without wall. And the whole world has become a global village through the internet. You can all bear me witness. All the social medias that we have is a means of marketing. And as the previous speaker has spoken, you just need to do your research. If you need to do a biological research on your product first, so that you know the shelf life. It's a simple thing that you can even try by yourself. Prepare a particular product, keep it in your house, and see how long it takes to, you put the dates. Then you check after 1 week. So you can do like 10 sets and check after 1 week what has happened. Next week, third week, fifth, and you'll be able to come to a logical conclusion. But it's better to do with the university if it's food, because food and drug are important. It's going to affect human life. So you can give it to a master's student to carry out a research for you. So you are supporting that student in that year course. At the same time, you are getting the results that will help your own market. You can also work like we have heard about French or any language that you want to translate as part of your content. At the back, your brand is in front. Everybody is looking at you from the front. But the world we are approaching now will not stop at what you look, how beautiful you look alone. They want to hear your story. And you are not there physically to tell your story. So your story is going to be at the back, at the content. The content of the product, the shelf life of the product, then the story of the product. The little research we have done of late makes me to know that American market celebrates the story of the product right from the village. They want to know how many lives is going to change, how many school fees will be paid, how many people are going to eat from buying that particular product. And you can gain this by doing your digital work very well. Create a space at the back of your product where you tell your story. Remember your content, remember the shelf life, and remember the story. Then the front page, which is the one we all concentrate on here. You will not stop at that because your brand is you. That is where they recognize you. When you see this product now, you already know the owner. But at the back here is what I've described before. There should be details of this at the back, the content and all that. That's one. So we can use Twitter, you can use your Facebook, Instagram. Of late, we learned that Instagram is even selling more than any other of the medias. So you need to continuously evolve as the world is evolving. There was a time that was the normal post office. Then we started talking about Express. Then we have DHL and all those ones coming up. But now the fastest one is by sending through digital. And that's the same way you are selling. Put an advert up by WhatsApp. Send it to platforms. You'll be shocked within 2 days how that product is going to go viral. It's the fastest way of getting your product all over the world. By the time you are getting the results, you'll be shocked yourself. So you need to have done enough due diligence on your product and be sure that you are not going to have issues tomorrow. Another aspect that you need to look at, because it's going to go far, your product is going to be picked up and there's going to be analysis on it. If it's Western world, there won't be a beg, sir. There is no excuse. They are just going to test. In some cases, you may end up being jailed if your product is not the standard. If you say it's organic, they will test it. Is it really organic? That's why we are selling. If you say organic, that is what they want to hear. So there is no GMO, there is no modification, but they will take it up and test it. And it's cheaper for you to do the test here than to do it over there. Some of us, because of the product we work with, like beans, we send it to UK, where you spend like £250 to test a product. But here, you don't have to spend as much as that. But make sure you do the necessary things before time. I want to mention Amazon, Alibaba, and Konga. We are all aware of all this. This is what we are referring to. There will be a link between you and them with time. You need to do a bit of research on it. You need to do online courses on how to know how to manage your end with their own end. Of late, I was privileged to know how Amazon work. They have robots in their warehouses, and they have put all these things in place. Once it's picked those products, it knows where it's going. There are sensors and signals that makes them to work. So you cannot put an error on your label, and you think somebody is going to help you to interpret it. And the marketing aspect of it is being done, but you need to look at your cost analysis. Amazon has a specific amount that they are going to charge you, whether the product is this size or this size. So you need to factor it in, whether the price or the cost of that product and the cost of that marketing will work together. Another aspect is that as you are learning how to do digital marketing, you can also learn how to do websites so that you can upload your product by yourself. As you are changing from one point to another, you can change by yourself. There is nothing wrong in employing somebody if you don't know. We all cannot do everything. But in a situation where somebody like me, who had started from that point, I can do few things by myself. But even at that time will not permit. So you give it to another person to do so that it can be more effective. I don't know. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And I'm so glad you touched on the organic issue. I appeal to those who are exhibiting. I attend a lot of exhibitions in Nigeria, and I have to go around and check. I have had to tell people to change their labeling. Even some people have put it in the name of their company, and I have warned them. And somebody came back to me a few months ago and said, "Thank you, madam," because she would have got into big trouble, because in fact she wasn't organic, but because she knew that that's what sells, and she, in good faith, she didn't understand the extent of the technicalities involved. So before you even think of putting organic anywhere on anything you're doing, make sure that you are really organic. And as they say, they test these things, and once there's just this little hint of something, you're in big trouble. And you also spoil the market for other people, for other Nigerians. And you know, we don't already we don't have a good reputation. Also, thank you, that was interesting about Amazon and the robots. And that's how it is in the Western world. And even in Asia nowadays, everything is, you have to do it right. Because nobody is going to be there for you to talk to say, please, sorry. No, sorry. What I would like us to do now is, we have heard about using the current methods of export marketing using the internet. But, well, I'm old school, and I remember when I started about 28 years ago doing this kind of thing, there was nothing like internet for us to use. I used to have to go to Senegal, Gambia. I was promoting made in Nigeria goods in ECOWAS countries. And I had to get on a plane or go by road. I'm not saying that we have to do that all the time, but it is always useful to actually have physical knowledge of the market you want to sell in. It helps. Even if it's one trip, it helps. Because you will then understand the whole culture of the people, In Senegal, if you want to sell swallow food, you're going to have a problem, unless you're just targeting the Nigerian community. It's rice, rice, and rice. So please, let us use the new technology, but let us also know that we're dealing with markets, and markets are made up of people, and there are different markets within the market. Now, to have all that knowledge, you need to do special training. It costs money, but at the end of the day, it is worth it, because things are getting more and more complicated. So I'd like Dele, please, to tell us, he is a guru when it comes to from A to Z, how to export. He is the new generation. We have, I used to call him Mr. Export, Madu. Can we recognize Mr. Madu? He's now Dr. Madu. He's really a doctor, PhD. Yeah, we've been in the trenches for a long time together. But I'm delighted that in Nigeria we are growing, or I don't know whether we can boast of doing it, because I think most of your training was done abroad, but we have people who can now train other people. And it is so important, because everything we've said here boils down to information and training. So Dele, can you give us, enlighten us further, please?
Thank you very much. Access to market. I'll tell a story about a product that, the story actually has to do with this venue, because I met the lady after she had worked on her product at this location. It was the chamber event, I think it was in 2016. We had met in January. She came for a training, and we talked about the need to package the product with the labeling and all the madam have spoken about. And she made the amendment. So I met her at a Nigerian-American Chamber of Commerce event, I think in November 2016. And she showed me the picture. And I was too sure we'll get buyers, because I tried to go to UK every year for different trade events, looking for buyers. Seeing that product, I was too sure it was going to get buyer. She sent the pictures to me. I sent it to some people in the UK. I got 3 people who were interested. I took the product to the UK on a Sunday. I came back on Wednesday, and I got 3 buyers. What I'm trying to say is the fact that if the product is good, the buyer will appear. And that's my conclusion. If the product is good, the buyer will appear. Good in terms of value it delivers to the people that want to use it. Good in terms of how it looks. And good in terms of, at the end of the day, the content. So it's very important that the product sells itself, and there are different options available to you in accessing the market. You can join Chamber of Commerce. You can look for brokers that you can work with, trade brokers. Just like Madam have said, you can go online to market the product on the platform. Then trade shows, international trade travels and shows. More importantly, and an area that many people have relegated to the background, is the area of friends and relatives abroad. Friends and relatives abroad. I have some clients, one trade with the wife in Canada, another one trade with the sister in Ireland, another one trade with the husband in the UK, in London. Just working with friends and relatives, and starting on a small scale, and of course growing afterwards. So it's very important also you are clear as to what market entry option you are looking at. There are different market entry strategies that you can use to get into the market. So you need to be clear, because they also have their pros and cons. You can decide to go direct or indirect. Now, my take on direct is the fact that because over 80% of world trades are done open account. Open account is a payment method whereby I ship the goods and send the shipping document, and afterward get payment. That leaves me exposed, am I right? Are we together, please? I ship the goods, send the document to the buyer clear the goods and pay me afterwards. That leaves me exposed, that's open account. As risky as it might seem, more than 80% of world trade is done on that term. So my take is, instead of doing direct export, I recommend indirect. Indirect means you have an agent or distributor at the destination. That does two things for you. If I have an agent or distributor at destination, I will always have a buyer because the agent is residing there. If I have an agent or distributor at destination, I will always, it becomes easier to follow up on payment. So having a buyer always, because the agent or distributor is making money from that system, from that process. So he's committed to it. So it becomes easier to look for more buyers. Now, the product I talked about was pap, and we started with it. Now, the product extends from different range of pap to beans flour, and even to kuli kuli, the granite cake. And the guy was telling me that the kuli kuli, when it started, it was supposed to be for Nigerians snack. But he discovered Asians are now buying it. Guess what they use it for? Soup. Soup. Kuli kuli. Now, that's also a lesson that when you're doing your research, you might think this product is used for this particular thing in your own clime. In other culture, it has other uses. So you might begin to stumble on other market you never even think existed before. But it becomes easier for that market to be sustainable when you ensure you have a rep at destination. Like I said, the rep can be an agent or distributor. Let me just try to distinguish between an agent or distributor and round off. An agent does not take ownership of and control of the goods, and it's not assuming any risk. It negotiates the sales of goods on your behalf and earn commission. It has no authority to agree on the price, and will not render after sales support. Agent. How about distributor? Purchase the good outright and take ownership and control, assuming all the risk. Sell the good to the customer and make a profit. Has the authority to agree on the price, and of course render after sales support. In these two options, they are both indirect export because I have an individual between me and the end user, but it guarantees constant market. Then because of the mode of payment that I'm likely going to get because I'm just starting, it also guarantees that I'm able to get my payment as at when due. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dilly. Well, I told you that you were very lucky to have this set of panelists. Do you agree with me? Yes. Thank you. Please give them a round of applause. Yes. Now, I'm also sure that you must have some questions. So we'll take some questions. How much longer do we have for questions?
If we want to further on, later on, what other avenues do we have so that we can learn all these things in details? Like you've talked about so many things, access to market, the kind of entry. There are a lot of knowledge gaps that needs to be filled in all those things you mentioned briefly. So if we want to learn in details, where do we ride on, you know? Thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Mr. Emeko Kafo. My question, madam, is in regards to the West Africa export opportunity you made mention of. Do you get my question?
Can you put your mic nearer?
Yeah, I say you made mention of West African opportunity on exports, where one can easily register that register for that opportunity. Thank you.
I don't know who to direct this question to, but I think my friend will help me. We seem to have problem with the AGOA implementation here. I know that you can help us. We do a lot of exports. The AGOA scheme is supposed to be helping us, but we're having hindrances in getting it across. I don't know that Dele can help me, but if you can help us, let us know how easy it is now that the AGOA scheme is being policed from here. We hear customs, the differentials. You have NEPC. So I just want to know what we can get from here. Thank you.
I just want to ask a question regarding to the organic product we are talking about. As we all know, the whole world is looking for genetically organic materials, that is free from genetically modified substances. So what are we doing, or what are you doing to help the farmers from the origin or from the grassroots to produce these organic materials? Because most of the exporters, they source their materials from what? Not directly from the farmers, mostly from the market. So there is need to educate the farmers also to go into this organic farming so that we can produce the real source. And another factor that we have, especially in the international export, we still have challenges in Nigeria, because you may find out that some of the foreigners, they have more free hand to export these products rather than the Nigerians. If you look at the Indians, for example, they export most of the agricultural products, and while the pure Nigerians, we don't have the opportunity to do that because they have most of the content, they have the financial wisdom and the rest. So we need an assistance to help our younger generation also to go more into that so that we can compete with other foreigners that are coming to take off all the opportunities we have. Thank you.
I am curious, what type of trade credit insurance is available for exporters in Nigeria that will allow them the opportunity to sell more on credit to foreign buyers?
Sorry, I didn't catch it.
Trade credit insurance.
Okay.
That's available to exporters in Nigeria that will allow them to sell more on credit.
I make plantain chips. And my question will be twofold. When people talk about export, because it's something that I've tried to do a couple of times, I want to bring this to bear before I actually get to the question itself. One of the requirements from Nigerian Export Promotion Council, because this is the reality of what's on ground, was that they are required to inspect the farms from where I buy my produce. And that is not an easy task. Plantain is not produced in the city. It's produced mostly in the jungles. And there's not one person that is doing it. Now, when I spoke to a lot of the banks who come to me telling me that they can make my business whatever it is that they can, I tell them that one of the things that needs to be done, this is a challenge I have. I have no control over what the farmers produce. I cannot tell you specifically that I know how they farm, because I know, as we speak here, we are talking about an agri fair. If you go to the market today, you will find a proliferation of chemicals that are being used for farming. I don't think there's any regulation or control over how they sell chemicals and how they use them. Many people who use them have no idea how to use them. So what you get at the end of the day are products that are already contaminated and polluted, which have above average threshold for those chemicals. At the end of the day, if you go to do export and they test those products, I don't test myself, they can never pass. It doesn't matter what credit you get, it doesn't matter what insurance you get, your products will not get through that net because it's contaminated from the very, very beginning. Now the question is, how do we regulate or control the people who actually produce these products? That is one. I spoke to the bank, I told them that, look, I expect by now both the banks and farmers of agriculture to have what we used to have in those days, pilot farms. My interest here is not only having my own farm, to have a pilot farms where people can come and learn proper methods and ways of farming organically. I generate over 60 tons of waste, and I know that the best raw material for farming plantain is the plantain itself. From the pods, you dry them and make them into manure, from making them into vinegar and so on. But how do we control it? That's my question.
Thank you very much. I think one last question. There? Yes? It's too much. You won't be able to do.
My name is Biodun. How can we take advantage of exporting agricultural products which are used daily, just like the cauliflower? An example is ugu. Nigeria has a large population the second largest or the first largest population after the Britons, which is about 2 or 3 million Nigerians. And I used to have orders to give them ugu every week. But the problem is the logistic and the movement. Before I get there, it's already sour or something, so it's not exportable. How can we take advantage? Where can we go, and what can I do to do that?
Entirely your problem. Oh. The man that wants to buy in US is not interested in your local matter here. If you have to go to the forest to know where, I said farm to fork. That means they want to know the beginning to the end. All this story you are talking about is just grammar. Entirely, now you want to do business, take it up and do it. The gentleman over there, see, let us be honest with ourselves. You have to rise above challenges. There are local challenges. We know, we all know it. The people that have been in the trenches for years, it was worse than this. These days you have forums like this to talk about export. You have to take the bull by the horn yourself. It's a private sector matter. You have to do the business. We know there are challenges, but I tell people that if you count the cost and you see that the rain is about to fall, you don't go to your farm, you go hungry. Okay? So, this GNA, all of this, guess what? You have to go back and get the farmer that is ready to talk to you. A farmer that is ready to use less pesticides and all of that. There are, talking about institutions, I tell everybody, anything you want to produce, Nigeria has a lot of reputable institutions. Work with them. If you work with them, you'll be able to know that plantain is not plantain. Plantain for eating is different from the one for plantain chips. Yep. Then the other issue, I'll undo about 3, Indians are exporting. Somebody mentioned that a lot of people, Indians, the man that is exporting in Nigeria is selling to his cousin in London. There's another cousin in the United States that the goods is going to. The gentleman told you a lot of people are selling to their wife in Canada, to their cousin in London. Work on that. The Indians have a good network. But we Nigerians are saying that I can't trust her. I can't trust her. Assuming she run away with my money, hey, business is about risk-taking. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I would like to continue from there. If you really want to be an exporter, pick a produce. You can pick beans. Are you getting me? You find out those who are in beans already, and you go to them and learn. If you want to go to school proper, you go to him and learn the theory, a bit of practical, but you go to an exporter who is sitting every day as an exporter, then you learn the rudiments. We'll try to jump that bit of it. You pick a product like, if it's plantain, what does it cost you to go to Ikere, where that is the headquarters of plantain, or Ondo State, and take a particular location to work with? The CSR that we have been talking about is what we are referring to. And we are expecting government alone to do it. Government will not do it. We are the one that is going to carry out CSR as a result of our business in order for us to pass the more. I can show you videos where I was talking to farmers in Ago, where if you have seen the road the day we went there, you will be wondering what we are looking for. When we do those work, we drop these dresses behind. Okay? Abe is there. She will wear the round buba. She look like a market woman and go to Kano to look for beans and call me and say, this is going on, this is going on. We want to do trial. That is how we work. We must link up. We must drop all these faces and believe in one another. Even when it fails, you must learn to still trust and work together until we get to where we are going. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Let me start with the vegetable challenge. If you're going to export vegetable, the few we've done in the past, the harvest is done in the morning of that day, very early in the morning. This particular woman we're working with was somewhere outskirts of Lagos. But she will harvest early in the morning, transport it to the port before the sun comes up. So by 8, 9 it's at the port. By 10, 11, we have cleared it into the circle area for cooling before it goes into the plane to the final destination. So you must harvest early in the morning, especially if you don't have a cooling system to be able to convey it. Early in the morning, and when it gets to the port, you can't put it in carton. You have to put the carton at the port because they must see it. You know, the way our people do sometimes, putting all sorts of things inside this thing for export. I mean, drugs and the like. So the NDLA people want to see it. So it's going to be put inside the carton, the perforated carton there at the airport. And then move into the cooling system of some of the port agencies, organizations, and from them to the plane, then to the final destination. So it can be done. It's being done regularly.
Let me interrupt you.
It's done. Okay.
Let me interrupt you because everybody is not in Lagos. I'm in Ibadan. What we did is to have a deal with FedEx. When we want to do things like that, we aggregate it. FedEx cooling van will come to us in Ibadan. We'll package it and add it over to them. So the cooling van is regulated from that point, and it gets to even US 2-3 days after, and it's still okay.
Thank you. Now, I'm so happy that, you see, this is a practical panel. If we don't work together, we can't get anywhere in export. You're a producer. You're looking for off-takers. Sometimes you have the finest plantain, you don't even have off-takers. And then there's somebody looking for plantain that is organically produced, you have it. There are so many gaps. We need to close those gaps. But you, the exporter to be, you know you're going to make money out of this. So you have to go the extra mile. Then have you been to IITA? Have you? Did you interact with them? Did you learn anything from them? Did you learn about the different varieties from them? No, I mean yes or no? Yes. So I'm just saying that there are places you can go. And please, there's one thing I want to make very, very clear here. We do have agencies that are connected with export, whether you like it or not. Apart from NEPC, which you should be in contact with from day one, because you cannot even be certified as an exporter if you haven't registered with them. And they do have some introductory programs that they run. Then there are so many now, very good training schools and so on. What you have learned now is from a trainer. You now know about vegetable, how they do it. It's not theory, this is practical. So, and I know a young girl who came to one of my workshops a couple of years ago. She was so quiet. She was like, she didn't look like she'd been anywhere or done anything. And she came. And I said, oh, what do you do? She said, I export vegetable, ma. I said, yes. She says, every 2 days to London. It started as like a joke, family. Her sister is living in London. She said, we can't get enough vegetable to cook. Go and find out now they are in big business. And there is one major exporter, one of the biggest exporters in this country, has taken over her late mother's business in vegetable export. And she does it to the UK, she does it to different parts of Europe. What I'm saying is that if you do a good job, if you know what you're doing, you will definitely be able to make a success of export. But it's up to you to do your part and don't work alone. You don't have to be the producer and the marketer and the logistics person and everything. Dr. Export wants to say something and I cannot deny him.
Just briefly, the person who was talking about vegetable, quarantine, they must get involved. Yes. They must visit your farm, accredit it. On that very particular morning that he said, you harvest very early if you are close to the airport. When you bring it, they will inspect it again at the airport and supervise the packaging in the carton. Another thing that is very crucial is certifications. The Global Gap certification, right now in Nigeria, we have assessors, we have certification approved organizations in Nigeria. Now, 60% of green peas consumed in Europe come from Kenya. Small farmers across the place, but all Global Gap certified. Because when you have Global Gap certification, what it means is that the Tesco's of this world, the Walmarts of this world can take your product. So that's another area where people who are in this area need to invest in. And it's not rocket science. If you see the quantity of Ugu and the rest of them that live on Tuesdays from NACO, so it's not rocket science. Anybody can do it. But the fact is, ask questions, learn, and follow it. You can't do without quarantine. You can't, no matter how hard you try. Thank you very much.
You can actually get export credit insurance from Nexim Bank. So you can approach Nexim Bank to discuss that. I mean, on insuring your proceed now, they have a product for export credit insurance. I don't know how much of that have been done in recent time, but I know it's a product of Nexim Bank, and you can always check up with them. And someone mentioned here about having access to information. Just like everyone has said, if there's one thing I think is extremely crucial as you start the journey in export is information. Both from online, from real practitioner, from training. Get as much information as you can before eventually you can narrow down the product you want to ship and then start the process. On the AGOA, we say having challenged with AGOA. I like to define AGOA this way, that it's like you have a baby that have a 1-year-old child. He's giving a turkey lap to eat. So juicy, so tasty, full of nutrients, but does not have the capacity to do it. And that's what I can see on AGOA. And that's why we've not really taken full advantage of it. It was Nigeria Association Chamber of Commerce also that had a program here, I think it was 2 years ago, and they invited some foreigners from Ghana, and I actually asked one of them that, how are you people able to do it? And he was telling me, look, our government got involved in few companies, work with them, model for others to follow. And because of the success of those one, other people were able to follow suit. And that was his response. But this was in a private conversation that, look, that's what they did in Ghana, and that's how they'll be able to take advantage of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Well,
okay, on the same questions about the implementation challenges, you have mentioned Nigerian Export Promotion Council, the Nigerian-American Chamber of Commerce and Customs. I think all these institutions have a role to play. If you have noticed that yesterday, the figures I presented, there are some products exported from Nigeria to the US. They are AGOA eligible, but they don't benefit from AGOA, which means that the exporter and the importer, they are not aware that these products are duty-free under AGOA. So this lack of information, all these institutions are working in sharing information about AGOA opportunities. There is an AGOA Trade Resource Center based in at the NIPC in Lagos here, and also at the Nigerian-American Chamber of Commerce. There is an AGOA help desk where you can also get a lot of information about AGOA. When it comes to customs, as you know, they are involved in the export procedures, and to be able to export garment and textiles products under AGOA, you need the textile visa, the AGOA textile visa. And it's only customs who can provide you this textile visa. That's why customs also are involved. What my colleague just said about Ghana is true. All countries that have successfully take advantage of, from AGOA, they have what we call an AGOA utilization strategy. So I understand that in Nigeria here, the country is in process also to develop an AGOA utilization strategy. I think with this strategy, Nigeria will be also able to take more advantage from AGOA. Thank you.
Well, I've been getting warning signals that we have to wrap up, but there was a question about ECOWAS trade. What I can say here is that one thing you might not know is that there are products, raw materials, and craft items that are made by hand that don't need to be registered. What you need is a certificate of origin that that particular product is from Nigeria, and you can trade freely across the ECOWAS sub-region. That is the theory. Now, the only way it can become practice is if people are aware and they take that opportunity. And don't think that, we all have the same things. I cannot export to ECOWAS countries. There are different climate zones in the ECOWAS countries. Would you believe that in Ouagadougou, December, January, there are so many strawberries in Ouagadougou every year? Would you have believed that? I can tell you, I've been seeing it since the 70s. So there are things that we can do. We also have strawberries in Jos. But my point is that some things you can take across without registration. Now, the registration process is a problem in Nigeria, and that's another thing. All you exporters and would-be exporters, you have to advocate. You have to come together and speak to government. Let them know that what they are doing or not doing is crippling the economy. Because if somebody from Senegal has a product that he can register easily within 6 months, and you have to wait 3 years because your own committee has not met, it's up to the individual countries. But please don't get discouraged. Don't get discouraged. Go to NEPC. Demand that something should be done. We have Minister of Trade and Industry. We have fora like this. Speak out. It's your right. And then it's not only the big companies that will continue enjoying this, because some of them have been registered since the 90s. I pushed them into registration. They didn't want to do it. Now they're getting export expansion grant because they are exporting regularly to ECOWAS. And there's no reason why SMEs cannot grow and do that also. So thank you so much for being a very attentive audience. My panel, I don't know how to thank you. It's been an honor to be your moderator. And I hope that we professionals also will rise to the challenge of working together so that we can push some of these issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, I'd like to have a group photograph. So I will just call on the panel for this session. And we have Mr. Bamidele Ayemibo. He's the guest speaker. He'll be returning back to speak on this session. So he's the lead consultant, Treaty Impairs Trade Academy. We have Mr. Fred Uweraka. Please join us, sir. He's the MD, Friji Consult. Please, let's try and put our hands together for this person. It's not easy. We have Mrs. Fumi Ajila Ladipo. She's the president of FADAN. That's the Fashion Designers Association of Nigeria. So it's time to talk some fashion. You're welcome. Please, you can use this. So we have Mr. Emeka Ofo. Is the Director, Strategic Communications, Nigerian Investment Promotions Council. And to moderate the session this afternoon rather, we have Dr. Obiora Madu. Is the CEO, Multimix Academy. So we'll just go straight into this session. It's on tapping into the opportunities in the export value chain. We encourage vendors to please send a representative into this conference area. It's very important that we do not miss this session. Get a representative into this area so we could learn. Knowledge is very important. Knowledge, they say, is power. So we'll just go straight into the session and please enjoy. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Hello, are we still here? Good afternoon. How do you feel this afternoon? Thank you very much. It was a beautiful session just passed, and I think this session is also very critical, tapping into the opportunities in the export value chain. If you are the exporter, you don't have to do everything. That's why it is a chain. And that was what Sade was telling the plantain person. Everyone has his core area, so you concentrate there. So we're going to have Dele Ayemibo, who is the guest speaker. Like Sade said, those are the new generation export consultants. Some of us are retiring. Dele also was my successor as the export group chairman at Lagos Chamber of Commerce. So you have a lot of experience here. From the fashion side, Frije is, when it comes to food, you have to give it to them. And Emeka is going to provide us the government backing behind. So we'll call on Dele, but briefly, the opportunities in this land for export, when I think about it, it gives me headache. You know why? There is no local government in Nigeria, 747 of them. There's no local government in Nigeria where you cannot find something that can be exported. I had an order for, coconut shell, the part we break. I had an order for the ashes of that very particular. You know something that the customs use for their tie? You find them on some form of palm, this thing. There was an order for it. So it's not about what to export. The opportunities are there, too many to mention, but at least let's look at it from a value chain point of view. Because you can choose not to be the exporter. In commodity business, the commodity traders make more money than the exporters. They know the season. They know when to go and buy. They store, just cross their legs and drink coffee. Wait for 2 months, they make more money than everybody in the chain. So on that note, let me invite Dele to... Dele, you have 10 minutes to make the presentation, and then the panel will take it from there. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, sir. I'll be talking about some of the issues that confront people that want to go into this space. The issues around being able to get all the benefit across the chain as far as export is concerned. What I've tried to do is to categorize those challenges that need to be overcome into 5 categories, such that at the end of the day, if you're able to identify these challenges and face them squarely, it becomes a lot easier for you to be able to get all the benefit that you're supposed to get as far as export business is concerned. Number 1 is product. Number 2 is pricing. Number 3 is purchasers. Number 4 is paperwork. And number 5 is payment. Number 1, product. Products, procurement, production, preservation are extremely key if you are going to get all the benefit in the chain, value chain of export in Nigeria. Deciding what to export, deciding the place you really want to play. Is it on the commodity or in value addition? To the extent that a lot of people think only of commodity when going into this space, but there are huge opportunities in value addition. And I think that's what we should begin to look at. For me, I think exporting commodity in this age is like a modern slavery, because you really get a lot from adding value to it. And it's interesting when the foreigner come around to educate us on how to export commodity. And I laugh. They're educating us to be the raw material factory for their own production. And we're not thinking of we doing it. They want to ensure we bring good quality products so that they can produce. Whereas we are so also eager and happy to send those quality products. I mean, just about, I think last year, a journalist wrote an article about this issue of cocoa being exported in raw. He talked about Côte d'Ivoire exporting cocoa in a particular year and generating about $2.5 billion exporting cocoa beans. And one of the companies that they export to in Europe, the same year, generated over $18.5 billion exporting chocolate. Who is making money? Who is making money? So we should begin to look at how to ensure that we don't just play at the commodity end, but adding value so we can get all the benefits across the chain. The next one is pricing. If you're going to get the full benefit in the chain of value chain of export in Nigeria, we must be right with pricing. People call me from time to time and say, hello, I want to export this product. What price should I give? And then I said, even if I give you that price, will you believe me? How will you call up the phone and you just expect someone to give you a price for a product? Whereas there are so many other things that comes into play. So I ask the question, what price are you getting the product? So he doesn't even know the price of the product, but he's going to quote a price for someone abroad. And the interesting thing about commodity is, if you are dealing with commodity, if you get the price today, and that was the basis for quoting abroad, 2-3 days down the line, the price has changed. So if you're going to quote the price, you have to take a position ab initio, or be able to project and predict what the price of that product will likely be by the time you really want to procure for export. And across the pricing are a lot of opportunities. The product itself, the transportation, the forwarding costs, the logistics, the quality inspection, and even the packaging. And all these have to go into pricing of the product. Now, for example, even when you get into the market, talking about the same product I talked about earlier, when we go into the market with the product, the market responded. There are other 2 Nigerians already exporting the same product into that market. And they responded and dropped their prices. The packaging we came in with was better than theirs. We have to drop our price, but not as low as they drop it. So today, the product is being sold for about £4. They are about 3.5, 3.6 pounds. The same product, but different buyers. And this product was being exported by air and still profitable. Imagine when it's not going by sea. But we can have this leverage because of value addition. Because of value addition. The next one is purchasers, getting buyers. I won't spend more time on that. We've discussed a lot about that when we talked about market access. So I'll move straight to paperwork. Paperwork is extremely important. In Nigeria today, people export products without documentation. That naturally alienates you from having any benefit from government in the first place. Why will people want to do business without any trace with government? They don't want anybody to even know what they're doing. And then you want to benefit from what government have to offer. There are pre-export documentation and there are post-export documentation. Some export products that are prohibited. For example, wood. Wood in a particular form. Most forms that wood are exported from Nigeria are prohibited, but they're still being shipped. So people will not do documentation for it. The second largest non-oil export product from Nigeria today is wood. But when CBN, National Bureau of Statistics, come out with their data, you don't find it there. You only find it when you are getting data from abroad. Because the shipping line, where they know what they've shipped now, so they can get data from the shipping line. Wood, third largest export, but many people don't do documentation for it. Why? Because the form in which most of the wood are exported are prohibited. Paperwork is extremely important for the buyer, for the exporter in shipping the goods out, for the buyer in clearing the good at destination. Before the pulp we're exporting get into the UK, they have to test it for aflatoxin. For the beans, they will test it for diclovers. So they will always test. If we feel we're okay with it here, they are not okay with it. Even if the repercussion of it is not immediate, like the case of aflatoxin, for example. The issue is that if it's accumulated in the body for a long time, it becomes cancerous. So they don't want it in their country, and that's why they want to prevent it from entering their country, and they're using documentation. So pre-export documentation, post-export documentation become important. Lastly is payment. The whole essence of playing in any part of the value chain is actually because you want to get paid. So the question is, how do you ensure you get paid? Looking at payment method, people want to do letter of credit. which is most secure payment method. But like I said, letter of credit usage in the world is declining now. Open account usage is increasing. So you need to find a way to protect yourself. And like I said in the last panel, one of the things you can do to protect yourself is to ensure you deal with someone on the other end. We ship to America, sorry, we ship to UK, we ship to Dubai, and ship to China. In all of this country, I don't deal in a country where I don't have a rep. If I have a rep at destination, I'm comfortable. Why? Because I know most of the time if I'm starting, it's going to demand open account. So if it's going to demand open account, then I need a rep at destination who is in the same line of business, and more importantly for me, is a Nigerian. In the same line of business, and it's a Nigerian. And then it becomes easier for you to be able to deal with the issue of open account. Lastly, if you want to create an enduring wealth for our children, if you want to create an extensive wealth for our country, if you want to create an everlasting wealth for the continent of Africa, a concerted effort geared towards enhancing the potential of the export value chain is the way to go. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dele. That was very brief and to the point. I'm going to allow the panel to talk on this, but briefly, let me also extend it a little, looking at the value chain. He talked about modern slavery when we export commodities, which is very correct. In fact, once you ship commodity, you are shipping jobs along with it. That's the truth. Value addition is the name of the game. But nothing is wrong with our commodities. I think something is wrong with us. In the late 90s, there was a project called ADB Export Stimulation Loan. Some of us who are older will know I was in the banking industry then. 41 factories were funded. As I speak to you, none of those factories are alive. Only one, which is just trying to get alive. You remember that group at Shagamu before you came down. You know for how long that place was overgrown with weeds. That's the only one. It was funded and people treated it as usual, as national cake, their own portion. So it is not today that we started knowing that shipping raw produce is not good for us. And then in the value chain, you are looking at, you're the exporter, you are there. Before you, even in the fashion industry, which is a very complicated supply chain, actually, because of the nature, there are people, Zara, for example, has about 7 tiers of suppliers. That is the chain. From the beginning to the end, 7 of them, they have to manage along the line. So, I would like the speakers, while you speak, let's look at, apart from being the exporter, what else can you be? There are local buying agents, there are processors, there are aggregators, and all that. Because everybody cannot be the exporter, that is the truth. So, let me call on please, can you speak on the subject? You are into food. In common businesses, if you do everything by yourself, you will be dead in a short while.
Well, my name is Fred. I think our chairman just let me out. We are very much involved in export. Let me say it. We've had our hicks up and down. Today, they said in book of psychology, when you fail, you get stronger. We got to a stage where we export to UN missions in Africa, and quite a lot has happened. We do a lot of business with America. Recently, we are doing with Israel. The common factor is how you can have ease of export. I'm sure that's what they are saying now. The scenario we operate may be hostile, but look down. I've been hearing the comment during the access to market. In a more difficult situation, there will always be a window, if you do it right. During the Liberian War, some Nigerians were exporting. They were exporting bread. And this is something that was fetching them income. The only challenge in Nigeria is that we are not consistent. We must, as exporters, remain consistent. In America, there was an addition to marketing. They call it political marketing. We exported some products to US. And when we were in the meeting in London, we heard that the products, the common Gari was not selling. And we had moved 20 tons to US. We took a dive from there and I said, let me go to America and find out. By the time we got to America, the issue of having somebody on the ground, we have somebody who is networking agent for us to distribute. We have an office in US, but we chose to use that man because of what I call knowledge, and it's having the window of getting commission from us. In a meeting we had, sorry to say, by the time I asked for the food soldiers, these are the people who go into the shops to get to the distributors and all that. We found they were Ghanaians. How will a Ghanaian, in all fairness, decide to market Nigerian Gari when Gari is always coming from Ghana? At the end of the day, I called my customer in Newark. I said, look, this is a problem. He said, okay, I know the problem. Can I take out your Gari? I said, lift it. We share the commission into two, and he moved all the products to Newark in New Jersey. Do you know what he did? Was to repackage our Gari. He said, can I take ownership? I said, go ahead. He repackaged it in 20 pounds, 10 pounds, and 50 pounds. I went on to relabel them. He has taken ownership because we sent them back to him. And he put Gari from Togo, from Ghana, from where have you. And at the end of the day, within 1 week, all the Gari was sold. That was an experience. The other aspect, prices of Gari was going up in US. Like he said, you must keep tab on your pricing. And we found Gari was going almost to 80 cents to a pound. By the time we finished selling that Gari, we sold at 56 cents per pound. What I'm trying to say is, export is a very tough market, but you must be up to it. Work on your margins. Don't leave any gap. I'm telling you today that some of the things he mentioned just now, product. The product is the first port of call. If you don't manage your product in terms of quality, selection, and certification, you're taking a risk. So, given this stake, the value chain starts from product, forwarding, marketing, finance, and remittance. None of them is less important. In fact, they mentioned recording. At the end of the day, do you know that even your forwarder must be reliable? Because we moved into the airport and by sea. You must be careful to make sure even an export manager manages your products. To the extent that in the final repackaging, sometimes I just sit by the airport, the export desk, and I just look. Because if you're identified at the port, you know the customs, the agent want to be friendly with you. You don't know for obvious reasons. You just observe. They can drop a drug inside your package, and your product gets to that destination. Somebody will buy all. If the drugs are found in your package, it's your company. So these are the pitfalls. When you get a foreign agent, talk about integrity, talk about the integrity of the agent that is carrying in US or somewhere. Think of delays. Do you know when the ports were being constructed, the road being constructed? Somebody moved goods to go to the port. It took them 1 month for the lorry to get to the port. There's a cost element involved in it. So all I'm trying to say from our end is the whole chain of export, no one is less important. They mentioned finance here, the incentives. Most of the incentives are on paper. When you want to use them now, it is there you see the hiccups. But like I said, you can go to I asked about AGOA when we were here. We've been trying to get AGOA stamp on our products. It's hell. And sometimes you wonder why it's easier in Ghana. We went to Ghana. I shared the attribute of saying, get the government to get involved in some few organizations. But at the end of the day, what it calls for is a lot of hard work. As I'm talking to you now, we had the LBS team. They came to our factory. They are coming for fact-finding. We talk at LBS forum where they have their export desk. We give them talks and lectures. Every step, we are into processing heavily. Every step in the processing is looked at to avoid you having failures. So my own take on this issue of the value chain, no one part of the chain is less. It's an advice to all those who want to export. The NAPC person will tell you point blank, your documentation is as important as the time you are trying to make the product. I think I'll stop so far. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Listening to him, he has touched some other components of the value chain. He talked about the forwarder. You know, if you go to the port, there's an invisible traffic light, the amber, the green, and that is the rating of integrity of both users of the port, that's like companies importing or exporting, and also the freight forwarders themselves. If you are in green and your freight forwarder is in red, you are likely to get into trouble. Because you know, green means that custom rates you very high as far as integrity is concerned. So that is very important. He is also a processor, but can I just ask you a question? How do you source what you process? Are you the farmer, or how do you aggregate what you process?
Look, if you want to build an aircraft, and you want to build all the parts for the aircraft, you will never succeed. I'm sure you hear about engines coming from the bone engine, even the car you are driving. The shoe horn, which is the brake pad, is being done by Inno Motors somewhere else. Today, we work on the base of clustering. All our suppliers, agents, they are friends of us. Because our major issue is to lift every farmer or every agent from the doldrum. You can imagine somebody producing, like he said, plantain, and he hasn't known his market. He's going to tie capital down. He said that he tie capital down, or he'll be discouraged from producing. So what we did was to get close to the supply chain. All those suppliers of those products, the owner that will get our honey all the way from Cameroon borders. Yola, my agent is there. And we made good relationship to the point where the quantity of honey I get must pass the international standard. And once we did that, we found out that they build a relationship with you. The same way with your gari, Ijebu gari or anything. So you can't produce them. Today, we don't longer grow fish. We get fish suppliers and we process it. So not hardly anything do we actually grow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is very, very critical. I know a lady who is into cassava processing. What she did was go down to villages. In fact, in some of the villages, she had to sink borehole for them as a CSR. But you can be sure that you cannot get in there and buy cassava while she's still around. So this is very important because that's the value chain that we're talking about. You cannot be everything. So right now, let's look at it from the fashion point of view. Over to you, madam. That's the mic.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Like you said earlier, the fashion industry is a little complicated, it's complex, it's difficult, but I still believe that there's so much impact that can be made round about the world. But what I see right now, you can't really export what you don't grow. You can't. We don't even have an assembling line in Nigeria. We don't have hubs. We don't have where things can be highly produced. So most of the things that you see that are going out of the shore of this country are things that are made, we call them samples. But the unfortunate thing about the samples that are being sold abroad, we just came back from an exhibition in France, and practically everybody went on their own with their own different brands. But you see, I tell you, some people sold out, some people did not sell, But at the end of the day, even if you are asked to bring about 1,000 or maybe 10,000 of what you have sold, you cannot produce. You cannot produce. So one of the major problem I think we have in this, the garments, practically all the things that we use for garmenting in Nigeria are not made in Nigeria, they're from China. And the thing is that if you must buy anything, you have to go to the open market. And if you go to the open market, if you have enough money and you buy maybe about 300 yards of fabrics, and then maybe you make a sample of it, and you send it abroad, and probably they want more of that, is accepted, and they want more of it. And then you go back to the same market, you find out that you can't find the same fabric. So it's dependent on what we get in the market. So, like I say, we have very creative, very industrious people. We have people who are ready, but the nation needs to help. The nation needs to help. There has to be a place where things, for example, I think it's there's a big mark or something in America where the uniforms are being made in Ethiopia. They get all the uniform from Ethiopia, and they supply all the stores in America. Why? Because they produce the fabric. So how can you export something you don't produce? So most of the things we're doing right now is just, let me take it there quickly. Let me put food on my table. Let me keep, moving my business, moving it forward, and, like that. But you see, if you take a look, we're just not, if you take a look at France, for example, Paris, what made Paris today is their fashion. What made Paris today is the clothing. We're going to keep depending on what we get from China and from other parts of the world. So I think the number one thing for me is that we need to put our industries in place, make our own fabric, start doing our own designs, because some of the designs that you see are copy and paste. Why? Because a lot of people are not really ready to sit down and be properly skilled. So how do you want to export something that is not properly done? The people out there are not going to accept things that are not properly done from you. We all need to look inward. I would really like to sell my things round about Africa. Really. I would love to sell my things round about Africa, because why? We have the same climate, we have the same kind of body structure, we have the same sizing, we have the same grading. Making clothes is so complex. It's not just cutting and then you're making the clothes like that. You need an assembly. You need a place where factories can be put in place and things will be done and done right. And if we're able to do that properly, there's so much money that we can make in this country from clothing. I know how people love the kind of things we take abroad. The little things we take abroad. Everybody wants it. I want that, I want that. Also, we have to put the issue that a lot of people don't want what you're wearing, I don't want to wear it. People will tell you, make my own different. Let me stand out. Let me do this, let me do that. So there's so much that we still need to do in the fashion and in the garment industry. The mindset of the people also has to change, that you have to be properly tutored, and that clothing is hard work, is big business, is hard work. It is not Nollywood. It is a whole lot of hard work. You have to think, you have to put money, you have to move around. You have to see what is happening in other countries. Where can I export to? What is the country like? What kind of weather? So there's so much that has to be in the that has to do, to do with the fashion industry. But I think the main thing, there's a saying. I'm sorry, I will just say it in Yoruba. They said, we have to look inward. We have to make sure that more Nigerians are even wearing what we have. And then how are we able to develop our own industry? Let us develop our industry first before we start talking about exporting rubbish. Thank you, sir.
All right. About wearing our own things, I think some of us here are guilty as charged that we are not wearing Nigerian clothing. But anyway, I think a lot of things come out from what she said, because I understand, I've done a study on Zara's this thing. At times in this industry, you don't know what is going to sell this year. You will get to know only when you get at exhibitions. And at that exhibition, somebody wants to sign on for so much. In fact, there's a lady from Nigeria who went on an exhibition, I think it's the US. So Nike guys met her. Beautiful, we like it. Please, can we have 500,000 pieces? She almost fainted. 500,000 pieces, where, how? How can she do it? But it is possible. That's what others are doing. Nike clothes are not manufactured in the US at all. They are all outsourced. So, I don't know, my voice have gone hoarse about talking to government. I have written articles, I've had the opportunity of speaking to the chief executives of Export Promotion Council. You know, Albert Einstein talked about some level of madness when you do the same thing and then expect a different result. That's what we do again and again. But since government have failed us, the question will be, I'm sorry, Mecca is from government, he will defend them when he speaks. But since they have failed us, what do? We must do something. You know, we are the constant, they are the variable. They come like, we are barracks, soldier come, soldier go. We still remain, so we must do something. If you have a comment, just what do we do? Because we must do something.
Like you just said, sir, there was a lady in Akwa Ibom, one who is a designer. She's quite good. And I think she had something with the US, and she was supposed to supply, I don't know how many thousands. She had taken samples there. She was to supply. It got to a point, she's been running around for this thing for months, but eventually she was supposed to supply. At the end of the day, when they gave her the amount she was supposed to supply, she ran to me and said, Auntie, look at what they're asking me to supply. I almost fainted because I don't even know how to go about it. She has about 50 workers, 50 machines working for her. And at the same time, she didn't know what to do. So I just said, why don't you go to Aba? And you know, she went to Aba, but the quality was not it. The quality of what she had produced, you can't show America a sample and then take something else to them. But you see, really, something can be done. And I really feel we can make a headway. And the best way to make a headway is clusters. We need to come together. If we can all come together, we're too fragmented because, you know, the artistic world is all about me and me alone. I feel I'm great, but it's not so much about that because the end result of all we're talking about is to make money. So we can come together as clusters. That is one. And then two, we can reasonably subskill. We can, if the government, but the government has to put policies in place to help. Because if there are no policies in place to help, people will do anything that they like to do. So part of the subskill is to make sure that, look, not everybody is going to be a designer. Not everybody is going to start a dress and finish it. Some people are going to work in the factory and all they're going to be doing is fixing sleeves, and that is division of labor. Some people are going to be doing embellishments. Some people are going to be doing pattern cutting. Some people are going to be on the machine. Some people are going to be marketing. Some people are going to be doing the photography of fashion. Some people are going to be modeling the fabric. Some people are also going to be sampling. And then also some people are going to be purchasing. We have to do, if we come together as clusters, then we can say, okay, China, we know we don't produce fabric in Nigeria. So what we can do, we're all coming together. We're about 500, and we want you to supply us, and we want you to make this fabric for us. Maybe we'll make a headway. But I really think the permanent headway, sir, is to get the factories working in Nigeria. We need to get things moving in Nigeria. And we have to stop. Most of the time, what we see is things on the surface, looking on the surface. The right people will have to be put in the right place where things can work. Sorry, sir. If we can deliberately open up very big, mighty churches. I'm a Christian, but if we can open up mighty churches, we can also build big,
mighty factories.
Big place factories.
Thank you.
And set people off the streets. There are billions of Nigerians that can be employed. There are billions of young people that are out there that are looking for what to do, but they're all out there. There are things that they can do in the garment, value chain.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I share the passion. I traveled to the East. There's a very big company that used to make Mercedes cars. And I saw people trooping out. It was on Saturday before Easter. And I said, and they were all wearing tags. I said, what is going on here? A portion of that factory has been sold to a church. I felt so terrible. But that's it. Talking about coming together, there's a new word. You may not find it in the dictionary, but you'll find it on the internet. Instead of competition, they're talking about co-opetition. Co-opetition, what it means is competing and collaborating at the same time. That should be the key word.